What's going on, everybody? Today we got ourselves our playoff predictions. We're going to go game by game all the way up to the Super Bowl. And we also have our value picks for these challenges here on Madden. We're going to see what we can get for these badges here. But if you want to see the value picks, go ahead later on in the video. We're going to start right off with our predictions for the playoffs right here. We're going to start off in the AFC. And the big game of the weekend, Steelers Bengals. These two teams split during the regular season, and one with Dalton, one without Dalton. The one game with Dalton, one game without. The one without was a loss. The one with was a win. Now Andy Dalton went down early in that 33-20 loss to the Steelers, and McCarron came in and was kind of thrown into a very hostile situation where he played all right, but a couple big mistakes here and there. And but he's much better now. He's got 6-7 games under his belt, and he's starting to play pretty well. Starting to get himself a grasp of the offense. Now the Steelers snuck into the playoffs here, really with a Jets loss. Kind of lucky to get in. Jets losing away to Buffalo by 5 gets the Steelers into the playoffs, and a away game to start at a division rival, the Bengals. Now these two, the last couple of years, they've been going at each other. A lot of injuries leaving these games. They're tough games. They're tough rivals. This is the rivalry right now in the AFC North, and it's pretty bloody, some of these games. Now, Cincinnati under a little bit of pressure here to get this win. It's a long time. And Marvin Lewis, I mean, a lot of people think he's on the hot seat. I personally think he needs to win this football game. So there's a lot of pressure on that Bengals side. But I think they come out on top. I think the Bengals win this football game. Now, a couple reasons why. I think there's something about the Cincinnati defense that holds this Steeler offense in check for a variety of the time. Now, they put up 10 in the first meeting. In the second meeting, they put up 33. One was a pick six, and one was a 14-yard drive for a touchdown. Now, I mean, that touchdown drive you can count all you want, but that doesn't count too much for me. That's 19 points on the board that the offense had to go out and manufacture. 19 and 10 in the first game. That's 29 total in 2 games. Something about this Bengals defense that knows how this offense works. One of the few teams in the league that can hold it down pretty well. Now, on the flip side of that Steeler defense, it's pretty bad. I mean, A.J. Green, especially for those who are doing daily fantasy or whatever, A.J. Green should go pretty ballistic in this game. He is a tough matchup for these corners. He is a tough matchup for anybody, but especially these corners. These guys aren't too good. Boykin is playing a remarkable amount of snaps for someone who couldn't even fit over in Philadelphia. So we're going to see how this defense, this secondary, holds up to A.J. McCarron and these wide receivers who are it's probably one of the better wide receiving cores in the NFL with Eifert, at tight end as well. It's a pretty formidable pass defense, and with 2 good running backs behind that offensive line there, the offense can score some points as well, and I think that's going to be the difference here. Now, the Steelers can put up points, we all know that, but is the defense good enough to hold Cincinnati off the board, keep them away from the Steelers if the Steelers are going scoring points and doing their thing? I don't know. So I kind of like these Bengals at home. Underdog. Steelers been chirping a little bit all week. I like these Bengals to pull out the win, 24-20. Now we're going to jump over to the next game here. Texans hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Now we got ourselves a tough defensive matchup here. I'm looking forward to this. Not too often you see tough defensive football being played against other defensive teams. A lot of these teams nowadays are very offensively minded, so it's kind of a nice change to get 2 defensive teams going up against each other. J.J. Watt having another remarkable year. I think he was the second player ever behind Reggie White to have 15-plus sacks in 3 of his first 5 years. That's an incredible accomplishment. He's playing out of his mind as usual, but this Kansas City Chiefs team, it's almost mistake-free. Alex Smith, I believe, threw 2 picks last week, and that was like 15 giveaways all year, which is a pretty remarkable stat when you think about it. He's the ultimate game manager, if you want to call him that. And because the defense is so good, that's all he has to be, the ultimate game manager. The running backs have come along pretty decently over there, behind Jamal Charles leaving for the season. 110 in a row. So this team is hot. This team is coming in looking to seal itself a place in the next round where they think they can do some damage, especially if they get Denver. They think they're good enough to beat that Denver team once again in the playoffs. So this team is on a mission, I think, and I think they win this week. I'm liking 17-10. This Houston team, they're very difficult to gauge. The defense is pretty good, but sometimes they take nights off. The offense, beyond Andre Hopkins, I mean, the running game has been good enough for the year, but I don't think it's too great. And if this Kansas City, I mean, if they lock down DeAndre, I think they win this one pretty easy. But 17-10, Kansas City in a low-scoring defensive battle. They move on with the Cincinnati Bengals. So that would mean Chiefs go to Denver, Bengals go to New England. So we'll go ahead and switch over to the NFC side. We'll do that first set of games here. And what we got here is Seahawks-Vikings, Ice Bowl number 2, a high of 1 degree. I'm looking forward to it. Changes the game. The Seahawks offense been high-flying lately. Throwing the ball. Russell Wilson playing some great football lately. It was something like 23 touchdowns to 1 pick or something like that in his last 7, which is an outrageous number. And the Vikings going to Lambeau Field, winning the division, and their reward is a date with a team that smacked them a couple weeks ago in their own house. So let's talk about this one a little bit. Marshawn Lynch is back. And these are tough games to deal with. And this one's a bit tougher because of the weather. Now, in weather like this, you got to be able to run the ball. If you're not running the ball, you're not going to win this game. You can give it to Russell Wilson all you want, and he'll make some throws. But in the frigid weather, that hard football, it's just a recipe for running the ball. Now, that run defense of Seattle, it's pretty tough. It's going to be difficult for AP to run. And if you have to give it to Bridgewater and he's got to throw 30 to 40 times in this game, they're not going to win. It's just going to be that simple. AP has to have a great day on the ground. It's going to be cold. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be very few possessions. And I think that favors the Seahawks. I think their run defense is a little bit better. And, I mean, if they will pass, I mean, it won't make too much of a difference to them. I mean, they've been throwing the ball real well. As I said, with that hard football, you're going to have to use the run game. So if they don't have to throw it as much, and if they're running the ball well, they're going to win this game easy. If you're going to have to, if the Vikings are going to stuff them up, make them throw the ball, this game will be much closer than I think it'll end up being. But with all that in mind, I think the Seahawks still win this game. Low scoring. Adrian Peterson gets a ton of touches. Marshawn Lynch gets a ton of touches. And it comes down to a late turnover from Teddy Bridgewater. I like the Seahawks to win this game 16-10. We're going to move on to the Redskins game. Redskins at home to the Packers, who have fallen off quite a bit. I mean, where do you think this team would be without that Hail Mary against the Lions? I mean, they could be out of the playoffs at this point. That lifted them up a little bit, that win. But, I mean, even since then, they've still been playing pretty poor football. And the Redskins, who have been playing good football lately, the offense has been clicking. Kirk Cousins is having a heck of a year, believe it or not. And I think that spells some danger for this Green Bay team. A game at home for Kirk Cousins, where he's been great at home. This Redskins team has been scoring a decent amount of points. The defense has been doing pretty decent as well. And we can move back to the Packers, where the offense has just been flat out bad. I mean, the receivers on this team have to be... I mean, without Jordy Nelson, this has to be one of the worst groups in the NFL. It has to be one of the worst groups in the NFL. Jordy Nelson so obviously was the best receiver on this roster here. It opened everything up for Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb is not a number 1 wide receiver. Hell, I mean, on a lot of teams, he wouldn't be a number 2 wide receiver. So, I mean, that's the kind of personnel that Aaron Rodgers is dealing with. Aaron Rodgers, late in a lot of games lately, in those late game situations, been throwing a couple of interceptions here and there, kind of getting giddy in that pocket without that bad defense or behind that bad offensive line. It just seems like one of those years for the Packers where all the last couple years we've been talking about Super Bowl, this could be it, and then it kind of floats off and they kind of die real quick when it comes to the playoffs. They still made the playoffs, but that home loss last week was pretty bad, 13 total points. That interception in the end zone, that was just a horrid throw. It just seems like this team's not clicking, and I think their road ends swiftly with the Redskins beating them pretty easy. I like 24-13 Washington. Now we got the final 8 here. We're going to go over here to this side, and we got the Denver Broncos hosting the Kansas City Chiefs in my little scenario here. And we're going to start off with saying this is definitely no gimme for Denver. I mean, this AFC side of the bracket here is, I think all these teams are good enough to beat each other. That's the thing. I guess the lone exception for me personally would be Houston. But the rest of them are good enough to beat each other on their night, which makes these picks a bit more difficult. Now, Kansas City, when Peyton's last game before he came back last week, mauled all over that offense. And now, I think Denver, their offense is a little anemic. And when he came in last week, Peyton Manning, he only had to throw 9 times. The running game was brilliant, and he does add that. Something Osweiler does not have yet is the ability to read those blitzes. He has the ability to create holes in the run game, Peyton Manning, just by looking at the defense, which is a plus. But his throwing power, even last week, wasn't super great. Some of those balls were floated in there. Some of them not too great of throws. And he didn't have to do too much last week to win the game for them. He gave them the spark they needed. The running game carried. Now, against this Chiefs defense, you're going to have to make throws. It's just going to happen. They're going to bottle up that run game. You're going to have to make throws. And I just don't know if Peyton Manning right now can make those throws. He's got a week, 2 weeks now, a week starting today, to really get back that throwing power. But even when he was quote-unquote healthier early in the season, I still didn't see it. And I think that's a huge advantage for Kansas City. Now, Kansas City will have to score a couple points against that Bronco defense, which is pretty decent, pretty elite, if you want to say it. But there are a couple holes in that defense. I mean, Phillip Rivers was playing real well last week. A lot of his players were dropping balls, things of that nature. But I thought Rivers was playing decent last week, and he was finding a couple holes. And if this Chiefs defense gets some turnovers, which I think they will, I think they can win this game. And that's what I'm predicting them to do. I like Kansas City to move on against this Denver team, 20-13. Now we're going to go to the other game here, Cincinnati at New England. Now, this one was a tough one for me, mainly because I don't know if Dalton's coming back. He was running sprints and he was working out and he looked all right. Unfortunately, he's got to throw on that hand with the broken thumb. So it's a bit difficult to predict. Now, with Andy Dalton in this game, I would personally pick Cincinnati. I think with Andy Dalton, they'd win this game. Now, with A.J. McCarron, I don't know if he's comfortable enough yet or experienced enough yet to go out and make those throws. He's got to make those throws late in games. He's got to be a bit daring. I don't know if he's willing to. I don't know if he wants to. I don't know if the pressure is on him, if he's willing to. I mean, he did make some of those throws at Alabama, but you got to win games with some of these throws. And I don't know. I mean, this Patriots defense is all right, and if they're decently healthy, it'll be difficult to make some of those throws. If Hightower's back, it's that much harder. And Chandler Jones rushing the passer. So, I mean, the Patriots, Edelman should be back. The offense should be not clicking, but the offense should have most of its guys back, and they should be able to move and score enough points. And I think they do. I think the Patriots actually squeaked this one out just barely and beat the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20. Now we're going to go over the NFC side. Here we got ourselves two good games. We're going to have Seattle at Carolina, which would be the game of the week if this were to happen. Now, this Panthers team been on a roll all year, 15-1 to end the year. People like that loss. I'm in that group. I do think the loss is good for them. But this Seattle team, I think if they get through this Minnesota game unscathed, fully healthy, or as healthy as they are right now, I think they can be a real challenge to the NFC. I really do. Real challenge to get back to the Super Bowl. This Panthers team, they went into Seattle and beat them real late on that mix-up with Thomas and Sherman. Real late, they won that game in Seattle. But to me, that Seattle team was still trying to find its feet. It looked, I mean, that was during their stretch of really poor, crappy play, and they were losing games all over the place. But this team, since Jimmy Graham has gone out, is starting to click. And if this offense is good, the weather's good, not too freezing cold like it's going to be in Minnesota, I think, I mean, as a Giants fan, I saw this Panthers team give up tons of points to the Giants. I mean, we were giving up points. And I know they came late, but let's be honest. All year, the Panthers have been giving up points late. They're giving up almost gave up that huge lead to the Giants, almost gave up that huge lead to Green Bay, whose offense is just anemic at times. And they they almost tied it back up real late. Put themselves a ton of points as well. So, I mean, this is still something that's bugging me about this Panthers team a little bit. They go for somebody's throw, and then they think they've got it, and then they sort of just let go, and then it comes back a little bit. And I think they were hurt a little bit with that Falcons loss. Not so much as it hurt them with the losing, but I think that Atlanta Falcon team roughed them up a little bit. They were playing tough, they were playing hard, and it was very difficult for them to get the ball moving. 7-point loss in the end. It was just They just seem to struggle kind of things. And if Seattle, which they can, will beat them up, I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to end up winning this game. In the end, I like it 24-17 Seattle. Now we're going to move on to the second NFC semifinal. Cardinals hosting the Redskins. I just think this is a bad matchup for the Washington Redskins to go into Arizona and put up a lot of points. I mean, this Cardinals defense, you give it one opportunity and they're scoring points. They'll score it themselves. They don't need the offense to go out there. And the offense has some great receivers. It's got some good running backs. They move the ball all sorts of well. They score the most points in the league, I believe that's the stat. And, I mean, this team just scores tons of points. And if you're the Redskins and you turn it over one time, just one Cousins pick six or a fumble recovered for a touchdown, that can almost kill it. Early, late, whenever. I think the Cardinals are just too powerful on defense. I think the offense is too good for that Washington defense. I think this is the easiest game to pick. If this were the matchup, I think this would be the easiest game to pick all playoffs. I like the Cardinals to win this one 34-10. Now we're going to move on to the AFC title game. We got the New England Patriots hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Now this is a tough one right here. We'll see how they play against Cincinnati or in real life, whoever it may be. Probably won't be Cincinnati. Knowing my picks, you might as well fade all these right now. But the Patriots, if they play well against that Cincinnati team, the offense clicks, the defense is fully healthy, I think they win this game pretty easily. Now, if they're not, I think this Kansas City team can cause problems. I think it can cause problems in general. I mean, the defense is good, but I don't think with a fully healthy defense that Alex Smith can move the ball enough to keep up. I think it'd be difficult for him and difficult for the team in general to score enough points to stop the Patriots walking their way to the Super Bowl. As I said, the defense can play well. If Kansas City runs the ball, not forcing Alex Smith to make throws he doesn't have to make, then I think they keep this game close. But the Patriots, in the end, I think, win this ball game. And I'm going to go with this final score of 20-14. And that'll put the New England Patriots in another Super Bowl. And we're going to go over to the other side where we have Seattle at Arizona for the NFC title game. Now, these games are difficult to pick. They just played last week, and Seattle ran all over the Cardinals and blew them out of their own stadium last week. It was like 38-6 or something like that. Now, I was watching most of that game, and to me, it seemed like the Cardinals weren't a part of that game. That's up for debate. Cardinals didn't seem too interested from the get-go. But regardless, that doesn't look good on you anyway. But if they get their confidence back, kill that Washington team like I think they will, then I think this will obviously be a much closer game. Seattle clicking right now. We're talking about that all the time. But when Arizona's clicking, man, they're scoring points, and they can score points on this defense, which has proven to show. They put up 39 last time they played, something along the lines of that. So this team can go. I don't think it'll be that high scoring, but I do think the Cardinals get their revenge here. Now, there was a couple years back when, right before the season finale, right before the first week of the playoffs, 3 of the 4 games that were played in the playoffs were played the week before. And I believe all 3 of those teams lost. If they won the game in the regular season, they lost the next week. I believe that was the case, at minimum 2. And it's something about that when you go in with too much confidence, especially after you beat a team 38-6 in their home stadium. It's just something personal for the Cardinals. It's personal for Seattle. It's a personal game away from home in Arizona, where Arizona are very tough to beat. Now, I do think Arizona comes out on top here, just by a smidgen, just by a little bit. Such a difficult game to call. I think Arizona ends up winning this game 24-23, and that'll put the Cardinals in the Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. Now, Super Bowl Sunday, baby. Super Bowl 50. Great matchup here. New England versus Arizona in the Super Bowl. These are my predictions, obviously. And I'm going to start it right now. I think Arizona wins this game. I think Arizona would win this game. Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, Malcolm Floyd. Is it Malcolm Floyd? It's Michael Floyd. Michael Floyd. Michael Floyd's retiring. Michael Floyd, John Brown, that offense, it, to me, is too good for almost every defense in the league. And I think even with a fully healthy defense, I think they would still score a lot of points. The big key here is the New England offense versus the Arizona defense. Now, the Arizona defense can bend sometimes. We've seen it, but it only needs that one opportunity, as I said. If Tyrann Mathieu were playing, I think it'd be a no-brainer that they got a turnover at least. But I do like the Cardinals' defense to get at least one turnover or a couple of stops. It's such a difficult game to call. I think the pass rush is good enough to get to Brady. The corners are good enough to cover those quick those quick routes. If the pass rush is on their game, they'll be getting to Brady 2-3 seconds in, which he likes to throw the ball. He's the quickest throwing the ball. But if the corners are covering those receivers well, he'll be throwing the ball, getting sacked. I think there'll be a lot of pressure on Brady this game, and I think that is the key. I don't think they ever get into any sort of rhythm, and I think the Cardinals would score enough points to win this football game. I think they'd go by it pretty. They'd score some points. I think they'd score some points. I don't know what else to say. This high-powered offense is going to score on anybody, and if the New England Patriots aren't keeping up, which I don't think they can on that great defense, it'll be difficult for them to keep up with this high-powered, high-scoring offense. So that is my Super Bowl prediction, guys. Arizona Cardinals defeat the New England Patriots. I'm going to go with a score of 30-21. Now, for those who came for the value picks, we're going to go take a look at them right now. if you do all those solos, which I was kind of just floating over, we jump ahead over to the, here we go, the redemption. And now what it is you put a NFC one and an AFC one. Here are the ones, the twos, that sort of thing. And you get a certain amount of coins for each postseason win that they get. Now, for those, a lot of you don't know, something like this where the Cardinals get 5,000 per season win. This first weekend where they are not playing and they have a bye, you automatically get 5,000. So for those who like to not take the risk, you put it on a 1 or a 2 seed from either conference, you're automatically getting 10 grand. But we're looking for value. We're looking for teams who are going to go the farthest, teams who have the potential, if you want to say, to go the farthest and get the most amount of points. Now, based on my predictions, my 2 would be Cardinals at 15,000 coins. Or, you can go with Seattle. That would be another, it'd be 15,000 as well. It's whatever you want to do here, but we're going to go for value. So, we're going to go with the AFC first. I don't think the Broncos win a game, so they'd only get 5,000 for me. Patriots, I think they win 2 games, plus their first one, so it'd be 15,000 for the Patriots. For me, the Bengals, I think they win 1 game, and that's 10,000 coins. Texans, I don't think they win any games. That's 0. Chiefs, I think they win 2 games. That's 15,000 coins as well. And the Steelers, I don't think they win any. So that is 0. So tied at the top for me are the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots. Now, this is value. We're looking for the teams with the most potential. The teams who have the ability to go all the way, if you want to call it that. So we're going to go ahead and put our value pick in New England. It's a tough call because I think the Kansas City Chiefs can win that game. If they get there, I think they're good enough to get to the Super Bowl. I really do. That defense can carry them pretty far. But we're going to go with the New England Patriots because they've been in this position before. They got Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. They know what they're doing. So they have the ability to win the Super Bowl, which I'm going to be perfectly honest. If Kansas City were to get to the Super Bowl, I don't think they'd beat any of those teams from the NFC, honestly, except I guess the top 3 in my book, I guess, Carolina, Arizona, and Seattle. I don't think they win any of those. I don't think they'd beat any of those teams. So that is my value pick there because New England has the ability to win the Super Bowl. Now, for the NFC, I don't like the Panthers to win any games. That's 0 for me, or 5,000 actually, because they get the first week. Cardinals, I think they win the Super Bowl, so that's 20,000 for me. Vikings, I don't think they win any. That's 0. Redskins, I think they win 1. That's 10,000. I cannot believe that the Redskins are more than the Packers. I cannot believe that. Packers, I don't think they win any games. That's 0 for me. They're on the road. They're underdogs. That's weird for me. And the Seattle Seahawks, I think they win 2 games. That's 15,000 coins. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this one. This is tough because we're going to switch it off between Arizona and Seattle. Now, on my picks, obviously Arizona is my favorite. I think they get 20,000 coins. They go all the way. But if we're talking potential here, there is a potential for this Seattle Seahawks team to win the Super Bowl. They are just clicking. The offense is flying. The defense is hitting. And it's some scary stuff. If you're in the NFC or the AFC, if you're in the playoffs, this is a scary football team. You got to worry about your games. But along the way, you're kind of hoping Seattle drops its ball somewhere and loses before they have to reach you. They have the potential to win the Super Bowl. That is a 30,000 coin hit. They could easily beat the Cardinals in my situation. So for value, we're going to go with Seattle here. My prediction is the Arizona Cardinals, but for value, we're going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. So we've actually gone with a rematch last year's Super Bowl, but not based at all off of last year's Super Bowl, just based off what it is now. So our 2 value picks, Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. If you stayed through this whole video, Jesus Christ, congratulations. I cannot even freaking believe you did that. But if you did, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We're going to do a Super Bowl pick them as well when the game when the final 2 teams are announced. We'll go over their Super Bowl predictions and stuff like that. We're not going to go every round just for the Super Bowl, because chances are this Super Bowl will not be Cardinals Patriots, knowing me. I don't like the Patriots, so I don't even really hope they get there, but that's what I'm liking. But guys, that is the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and peace.